All right, so first off, I'll say all praise to Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the prophets of doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also I want to say shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I am of that number. So this is right on the heels of the last video of the same title. All right. So if you went back and watched that, you won't be lost on where we're picking up right here. All right. So where Google AI left off was asking me if I would like it to find more details on specific laws being passed in different countries to protect people from mandatory implants. So my reply was no. Instead, find more details on specific laws or policies being passed in different countries, but especially America, that will do the opposite of protecting people from mandatory implants, in turn catching the people off guard. All right, so get right to it. It says, while many current laws, and this is going to show you with verse 17, okay? Revelation 13 and 17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that received this mark. Hold on. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay. Also, we're going to touch on what we spoke about up top when it came to preemptive bans. All right. You're going to see how they always put in a workaround. All right. This is why we touched on what does it mean when someone thinks that they are slick. We can read that again really quick. Okay. Let's see. When someone thinks they are slick, it typically means they believe they are successfully being clever, sneaky, or deceptive without others noticing, but the Lord always notices. And then he shares it with his men through the spirit and power, okay? So Esau really is not being slick when it comes to the men of the Lord, all right? It says, depending on the situation, the term can range from a lighthearted observation of someone's smooth casual or smooth social skills, or to a sharp criticism of their untrustworthiness. All right, this is what we're speaking about. So it says, while many current laws, back here to the question, all right, while many current laws are designed to prevent mandatory micro C-hipping, there are several legal and policy backdoors, particularly in the United States, that could inadvertently create a path for mandatory use. Okay. These policies often focus on security, health, and national defense, which can sometimes override individual choice. Number one, the security and identification backdoor. The most direct path towards mandatory implants often starts with digital IDs and biometric screening. While these are not C-hips, yet they establish the legal habit of requiring a biological marker to participate in society. All right, we've talked about gradualism. And that's a part of these people thinking that they're slick. They think that no one sees what they're doing. All right. So, Stop Identity Fraud and Identity Theft Act of 2026. All right. HR 77270. Or House, let me see. I forget what that HR stands for. Hold on. just slipped my mind, so hold on a second. What does HR stand for in the bill? House of Representatives, okay? So HR, House of Representatives. So it says HR 7270, introduced in January 2026. This bill provides federal grants to states to modernize identity systems. While it focuses on digital IDs, critics argue that as these systems become unhackable, the push to move from a phone-based ID to a body-based ID, which is unlosable, like a CHIP, all right, becomes the logical next step for national security. I mean, they've said it right here. All right, while most of the world doesn't think that there's a path to a mandatory micro CHIPing, while you're thinking that, they're steadily putting in the framework, the groundwork for it to become a reality. And you should already know that it's going to be a reality if you trust in the words of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai. We just read it in Revelation 13, verses 16 and 17. All right, so now it's talking about mandatory biometric entry/exit, effective December 2025. It says a new DHS rule made facial biometrics mandatory for all non-citizens entering or exiting the U.S. This removes previous pilot program limits, creating a legal precedent where a person must provide a biological data point to cross a border. Number 2 says the National Defense Backdoor, which they call Biosecure Act. It says the Biosecure Act, signed into law in December 2025 as part of the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, creates a massive shift in how the government controls biotechnology. This law allows the government to blacklist specific biotech companies, all right, it's now currently focused on Chinese firms, all right, like BGI, and I don't know what that stands for, all right. Let's look that up really quick. In the context of Chinese corporate analysis, BG typically stands for business group. Okay. Okay. This is better. BGI. All right. BGI stands for the Beijing Genomics Institute, which is now officially known as the BGI Group. Founded in 1999, it is one of the world's largest genomics organizations, specializing in genetic research, biotechnology, and molecular diagnostic solutions. All right, so BGI is Beijing Genomics Institute. All right. So let me see, where were we? Defending companies of concern, or defining companies of concern. Again, it said this law allows the government to blacklist specific biotech companies, and they are currently focused on Chinese firms like BGI. All right. So the compliance trap, it says any company that wants a government contract from a local hospital to a major tech firm is prohibited from using equipment or services from these concerning biotech companies. If a brain CHIP or implant is deemed a national security necessity, for example, to protect against foreign neural hacking, the government could use the NDAA to mandate that only approved government controlled CHIPs are used by all federal employees or contractors. All right, number 3, the medical necessity loophole. It says most state laws that ban mandatory micro CHIPs include a specific medical exemption or exception, exception. Washington's House Bill 2303 in 2026, all right, while this bill bans employers from forcing CHIPs on workers, it explicitly does not include devices used for diagnosis, monitoring, treatment, or prevention of a health condition. They said explicitly does not include devices used for diagnosis, monitoring, treatment, or prevention of a health condition. They think they're slick. They think they're slick, y'all. So the risk, it says if a government declares a public health emergency, does that sound familiar? Has that happened before? If the government declares a public health emergency and claims a CHIP is the only way to monitor a specific disease or physiological state, these bans could be legally bypassed because the device is now classified as medical rather than identification. All right. Number 4, international condition of service policies. It says in Europe and other regions, total compliance isn't always achieved through a law that says you must get a CHIP. Instead, it is achieved through service requirements, a gradualism. All right. It says EU entry/exit system, or the EES. It says as of early 2026, many countries have moved toward mandatory biometric data sharing, which is fingerprints, or for example, fingerprints and face scans for all travelers. Workplace surveillance. It says while the EU AI Act, fully applicable August 2026, regulates high-risk AI, it allows for the use of biometric categorization in certain law enforcement and security contexts. This could allow governments to mandate these implants for high security roles like nuclear plant workers or elite soldiers under the guise of essential safety. Same playbook, man. Different words, same playbook from before, all right? The way they approach the people of the world, all right, is played out, is raggedy. It's the same playbook that they've been using, man. And the world still falls for it. The world outside of, all right, the men of the Lord. And don't get me wrong, all right, some Bible Belt Christians, some other people are going to go against the powers that be for the sake of going against the powers that be. But does that make them aligned with the 100% truth? No. All right. So this is like walking a tightrope. Okay. All right. But if you are the Lord's, you will get through it. All right. And Lord willing, I am one of those remnant and elect. All right. So to sum it up, it says summary of how people are caught off guard. It says the law rarely says everyone get a CHIP tomorrow. Instead, it happens in 3 steps that most people ignore until it's too late. Number one, normal normalization, and we've talked about this before. Okay, it says use a CHIP voluntarily for convenience, like paying for a train in Sweden. All right, they let you right now. Everyone, this is a voluntary stage. People are getting it because it looks cool. People are getting it because it's a cutting edge of technology. People are getting it because they just do everything that this man tells them to do. Okay. Ultimately, people are doing it because they don't know what these scriptures say. What did the Lord say? Okay. He tells us what will happen if you get this CHIP, man. All right. Number two, infrastructure. It says pass laws like the Micro CHIPS Act or NDAA that build the supply chain and security rules for these devices. Micro CHIPS Act. I'll look that up in a second. Number three, it says dependency. Link the CHIP to a must-have service like a secure digital ID or life-saving medical monitoring where the law doesn't force you, but you can't work or travel without it. We titled something on this channel called the MotB is the offer you can't refuse, speaking about how in the movie The Godfather, all right, that statement, make them an offer you can't refuse. Basically, it's like you can it sounds like a choice, but it's really not a choice. That's what it boils down to. Okay, as it said here, link the CHIP to a must-have service like a secure digital ID or life-saving medical monitoring where the law doesn't force you, but you can't work or travel without it. Okay, so what I want to ask here is what is the Micro CHIPS Act? And then I got to get out of here. It's almost time to travel to camp. Let me see. It did say the. Now I typed in what is the Micro CHIPS Act? But what it's giving me is the CHIPS Act. I typed it in, but I'm gonna read all of that a little bit later. I'm just trying to stick to this point. But what I will read out of this is it says why it matters, and it gives national security. Micro CHIPs are the brains of everything from smartphones to fighter jets and critical infrastructure. Economic competitiveness says the U.S. share of global CHIP manufacturing fell from 37% in 1990 to just 12% today. The act claims to bring this back to roughly 20% of the world's most advanced CHIPs by 2030. It talks about to protect national security again. All right, the act includes strict rules known as guardrails. Talks about China expansion ban. I don't know. I'll do more research in this Micro C-Hips app. Maybe we'll do some more reading on it. Okay. So until then, all right, I hope this came through as sincere and edifying. All right, let's we got a little bit more time. So let me read this really quickly here. Since I mentioned it, you can do your own due diligence to go look up these adjectives, right? These descriptive words used in Revelation 14 verses 9 and 10. Okay, the subheading above verse 9 reads, "The doom for the beast worshippers announced." And doom means death, destruction, or some other terrible fate. Okay. So verse 9 and 10 of Revelation 14. "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand." Verse 10, "The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." You can go look up tormented. You can go look up indignation. Okay? And it said you shall drink. All right? Meaning that is going to happen. You can also look up these descriptive words in Revelation chapter 16, verses 1 and 2. All right, with the subheading being the vials of the wrath of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai upon the earth. Verses 1 and 2 read, "And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai upon the earth." Above verse 2, it reads the first vial. So verse 2 reads, "And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image." So you can go look up noisome and grievous sore. All right, do not take the MotB. All right, so again, I hope this came to us sincere and edifying. And with that, say all praise to Yahweh, in the name of his Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the Prophets of Doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also I want to say shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I'm of that number, and Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.